So there's this guy who, he was leaving his house one day, and he opens the front door, and he sees a snail sitting right on the front step. And for whatever reason, unexplained, he picks up the snail, and he throws it as hard as he can across the garden. 10 years later, same guy, same door, same porch. Opens up the door, same snail. Snail looks up at the guy and says, "What the fuck did you do that for?"
1, 2, 3, 4.
The really
fun,
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 it's the
really fun, wow
fun,
show,
the really
fun,
the really
fun,
the
really fun, wow show. Oh, how fun!
Hello, and welcome to the Really Fun Wow Show. My name is Daren Thomas McGee. I feel good. It's good to hear from you. What? It's good to see you. Nope. It's good to be here in this place on this Monday morning, afternoon. What the fuck is going on here? Thank you for joining me yet again. This still, I know I kind of like do a bit of a analysis on what this show is every week that I do it, because I'm figuring it out. You know, I'm trying to understand why it is that I do this. And somebody recently wrote to me and said, I feel like I'm like holding space for a friend, and I'm just listening, and God damn, that's fucking beautiful that you guys just are just listening to me. I guess that's pretty much the basis of what a podcast is, but on like a deeper, more emotional way, you're listening to me talk. I love you guys. So Joey, you guys remember Joey? I mentioned him a while back. I went and met him. For those who potentially are just listening to the show on this episode for the first time, Joey is a dog, and he is available for adoption at the Santa Paula Animal Rescue Center, Spark. And I saw Joey online, and then I went and met him in person yesterday. And he's a sweetheart. He's really shy and timid, but you can tell he's got a good heart, and he's really sweet and has a lot of potential to be a really happy, fulfilled, loved pup. And that will not be by me. My landlord said that no. And so I'm dealing with feelings of I don't know. Well, so I went into it with like really feeling like, do not get attached to this animal, do not fall in love, because things happen and you don't want that ripped away from you. So really the exercise for me in all of this was non-attachment, and I am non-attached. So I just hope for the best for Joey. I hope that he finds the home that he was supposed to be in, and oh man, he's a sweetheart. He looks like a coyote. Which they called him Coyote, and I was like, Joey Coyote, that is such a dope name, man, all the potential. Joey Bag of Donuts, Joey Badass, yeah. So that's my update for real time. No Joey in my life, and you know, I also feel like it's just a reminder of what I actually need, independent of seeking it outside of myself. Like, yeah, the company of a dog would be fantastic. But how much more work can I do on myself? How much more love can I give myself? How much more purpose can I give myself without feeling like I need to add another life? And I mean, it's so funny. Dogs are incredible. And if you're talking about this universe having any sort of level of programming, like there was some intentionality to all this and not just some randomness of evolution that brought us here. Like if there was some intention, dogs seem to be pointing in that direction, because like, what the fuck? I mean, dogs and cats, especially just the dichotomy of the two, and how just kind of diametrically opposite they are. I don't know if I use diametrically right, but it sounds really smart when I say it like that. So diametrically opposite, and that like people are dog people or cat people. Like they identify with these two animals who have a long history of domestication, and that they've come to live in our homes, and we treat them like royalty, and we kiss them, and we give them little outfits, and we give them cute little names, and then little nickety names after that. And yeah, it's just, I think it's absolutely incredible. And I'm really just looking forward to the day that I'm able to have a dog in my life. So that's a little update there. And I think what I really appreciated about that situation was, the communication between me and my landlord, who, she's amazing. And I really appreciate and absolutely respect the desires for me to not have the dog. It's not my house, it's something that I'm paying somebody to stay in, and I'm going to respect and observe the rules set forth as per the signed contract. And so yeah, that was an interesting position for me to be in, when I initially reached out and was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a dog. And she was like, well, my initial hesitation or my initial reaction is no, but if you fall in love with a dog, we can revisit this. And so I was like, hey, I fell in love with a dog. And she's like, oh, no. And so just that, me feeling confident enough to observe what it was that she stated in that first interaction, which is, if you find a dog, we can revisit this. And so I didn't just take it as like this like abject no initially. There was like, the door was still open to a possibility, and we revisited it. And I really to be honest with you, I'm really proud of myself for coming back around and saying like, hey, you stated this, and let's talk again. So that was, to me, really worth it all in that, just in that interaction, and that advocating for what it is I want, and respecting the fact that somebody stated something very clearly, and that we just had that communication. So that alone is why Joey came into my life. Oh God, he was so sweet. He was like just giving snuggles to the shelter employees, and he was like really trepidatious. Came over and like sniffed my hand, but really wouldn't get too close. But you could just see it in his eyes. Anyway, it's enough of that shit. How you guys feeling about AI? Artificial intelligence. Obviously it's a big topic, and it's something that can kind of span the breadth of many episodes of a podcast that's not this one. But it's a conversation, and it's a consideration that I think some of us are like, I could care less, and some of us are really interested. And I kind of fall right into the middle of interest and kind of overwhelm of even beginning to understand what it all means, what it could potentially mean. And as far as for me as an artist, what the implications are in regards to what it means for my work and for my industry, and the future of what it is to be an artist. And for right now, I think we're in that kind of playing around place where nobody really knows what's what. There haven't been any real ground rules set, and it's kind of a free for all. It's this kind of wild west of rules and levels of attribution, and how it all comes into form, what it's all based on. Like, the argument I've heard in regards to AI generated art is that it's pulling from pre-existing art, and so therefore it's kind of a derivative of art, and so it's not original. But it's funny and ironic that is what art is. Art is a derivation of everything before it. Like, there is no, I don't know if this is true, but it doesn't seem like there's like an original art. Like where does art start? I mean, I guess it started in like cave paintings and kind of like abstract interpretations of animals and things. And, I guess that's it. And then everyone kind of just derived their own style from that. I don't know. It's fascinating for sure. And the argument that I heard kind of, counter to that was that, and it's in that same way that art, that we're all inspired by other artists, and we can't deny the fact that we're all pulling from some pre-existing source, something that we've seen, which is like a kind of a big reason why I try not to view as contemporary art as much as possible, because I don't want to pull from contemporary sources. I'd much rather steal from artists that have been dead for hundreds of years, or people that wouldn't even necessarily be considered artists. Like I love just random ephemerae and things that are just like an old handle with care sticker that would be on the side of a crate from, the 1800s or something like that. Like that sort of stuff that isn't classically considered art, that would be framed and hung in a gallery. That's the inspiration that I like to pull from. So when people try to talk to me about art or artists, or mention, I was about to reference a contemporary artist's name and I can't even think of one, but I'm often just like, yeah, leave me out of the conversation, because I don't engage or consume much art myself. And for me, I've been utilizing DALL-E, which I don't know how familiar anybody is out there with the AI platforms that are available, but the two big ones that I know of are Midjourney and DALL-E. And DALL-E is same as Midjourney, and I guess all of them pretty much. You're just giving it a prompt. You're giving the machine a prompt, and then it's delivering some result. And I've been using that for reference images because I just kind of like basically hit the bottom of the barrel on Pinterest and was just like, man, I'm not finding anything new. I guess maybe my search terms weren't as broad as they could be. And also, I don't know if anybody else has run into this problem, but a lot of my work is on Pinterest, and I don't want to see that shit. That is not where I'm feeling inspiration coming from. So yeah, with DALL-E, using that to type in things that I want to pull references from, it's been immensely helpful for me. It's really like kickstarted kind of a new, just a new level of interest in actually creating art, because I just was getting so bored and uninspired for a while. And for DALL-E, it's, at least the prompts that I'm using, it's generating some like pretty shitty stuff, but it is giving like form, and it's giving like kind of a starting point, and then very much like pulling and crafting and building on top of that, and ultimately, ideally ending up with something imperceivably different from what you originated from. And obviously that's, what inspiration should be, is that you're inspired by something, and what you create ultimately is completely different. But I'll expose myself right here on camera, that there's been some instances where I've used straight up images that are generated on AI for some of my stuff. Like there's the drug series. There's a couple of those. There's like a frog one that I used where it's the frog, and I do very little, if anything, to use it, and then I just put drugs on top, which I think that's kind of where my artistry comes in, where I like take this existing image that AI created, and then I add the word drugs to it, and that makes me an artist. Like you can really get away with a lot of shit being an artist or proclaiming yourself an artist, and so I kind of like that there's there's not going to be a like the way that the doctor would have having to take a Hippocratic oath, and that there's advisory boards and places where your medical license can be taken away, and you can not be a doctor anymore. The same thing with a lawyer, the bar and all that kind of real legitimate shit. For artists, it's like no one's going to come and take my art license away, my artistic license. And thank God for that, because it would have been pulled a long time ago, I think, the amount of shit that I do. And so, yeah, I think that for me right now in the art sphere, I'm not feeling threatened or worried about what the potential is. I think I can see other industries being kind of shaken up, and it's really wild. Like I saw something the other day about like video editing with Adobe Premiere, their video editing software. There's the amount of AI that's being incorporated into that, and what it's doing as far as like cutting down levels of work that an editor would normally do is like, I mean, there is very legitimately industries that are just gonna dry up. Where let me give a little more nuance here. I think that there's any job that doesn't actually require. No, wait, hold a second. Okay, so let's take video editing as an example. So video editing or like film editing or editing, just editing moving images. That to me is an immensely artistic skill set. Also, there's editing that isn't artistic, that things that need to be like all the uhs I'm saying in this. There's now AI that will remove the uhs from it. So there was probably someone's job as a podcast editor or whatever, any kind of like audio editor or video editor, to have to go through interviews where there's someone that's speaking really long-windedly and you need to kind of like chop out any of the fluff or the uhs or the ums. That's someone's job. Well, AI can just do that and probably do it in a fraction of the time that a human could do it. So that kind of thing, like that's to me is like non-artistic. Like there's nothing artistic about removing an or an from audio. So those little things that are actually professions. And take that out, AI. Now I'm gonna be so conscious of my uhs and ums. Yeah, I think that there's, and so I think kind of starting with that and being like, okay, so yes, there's going to be jobs that are removed. Okay, so what does that mean? The guy or gal who had the job removing the uhs and ums from the video, was that what that person wanted to be doing? Was that what they worked their whole life for? Went through school and slaved away and just did everything they could to get to the point in their life where they spend 8 hours of their day taking out ums. I'd like to say no. Maybe there is the few instances or rare cases of that, but let's presume, for the sake of my argument, that there are people doing jobs that they don't want to actually be doing, and now those jobs are gone. Now what? And that's always been the big, I think, one of the bigger arguments around the threat of AI is that it's going to make a lot of jobs superfluous. Okay, so then what? And I'm not about to sit here and give the solution or the answer as to like the then what, but the fuck? Oh man, I think my ladder just fell in the backyard. Oh well. Literally cannot start a sentence without So I think the big thing for me, and the thing that I've kind of, when I've been given the opportunity to speak in front of people so loud. Well, there's nothing I can do about it right now. Son of a bitch. When I've been given the couple of opportunities to speak in front of kids in school, the crux of my talks are always that we are creative beings, and that our, if not our purpose, one of the things that is really important is our ability to create and to be artistic. And I think, obviously, I can speak to that as an artist and say, like, this is really fulfilling to me. And I guess I'll just speak in that and not have to play devil's advocate around somebody who's not artistic, who doesn't find any joy from creating. But I think if you can find joy in creating, then the last thing you want to be doing is doing something non-creative, like removing ums from video. So does that potentially free up a section of the population to pursue their artistic goals? Yeah, potentially. Is that good? I mean, I think so. I think any way we can get to a place where people are happy in life, that's a good thing. Like that's a net positive that contributes to just the collective consciousness of happiness. But I think we live in a capitalistically driven system. So we're like, fuck, okay, well, happiness isn't going to keep the capitalistic wheels turning. And so I don't know. I mean, I can't believe I even started this own kind of conversation with myself, because I don't have solutions, but I do wonder what it would be to alleviate people from doing work that they don't like doing. And I know that that's really simplistic and doesn't cover everything. And it's not suddenly like, oh, great, I don't have to do the job I don't want to do anymore. I'm suddenly fulfilled. I know there's also a number of people who don't know what it is that makes them happy. And so you suddenly take away the thing that at least occupies their time, and then they're left with like an abundant amount of free time. And they start doing drugs or drinking. Not that those are the only two options, but I don't know. I really want to see a time where artificial intelligence is beneficial before it goes all to shit. Or maybe it goes to shit first and then it gets better. Or it's just indiscernible as to like what's shit and what's good. So I think that I want people to be unburdened by labor that could otherwise be done very easily by a machine. That's it. I think that we are creative beings, and our ability to wonder and be curious and be able to turn those wonders and curiosity into something that is a play or a painting or a song. Those, I'm saying these things and I'm just thinking like, well, a fucking robot could do that too. Are we fucked? Well, you know, we can get into territory of how we provide for the population of people that are out of work. And I don't know anything about that, so I don't know why we'd get into that territory. But I know there's always murmurings of universal basic income being a thing, of just like, can we just give people money so that they can survive and finally pursue that dream of becoming a pianist that they've had their whole life? I mean, I really would like to imagine a utopic vision of what it is where people don't have to do the shit that they don't want to anymore. And I just think about how there was a time before capitalism where what was happening? I don't know. What was the monetary system during like the Renaissance or the Age of Enlightenment or all these other time periods that I know nothing about whatsoever? I mean, I guess there was still class systems, and there was poverty, and there was people suffering and all that. So I don't know that there's necessarily a time that we can point to, at least in written record, where everybody was happy and fulfilled and chasing their artistic aspirations. Fuck, man. I don't know. I want to believe that we're moving towards, well, I mean, we are moving towards something that we've never seen the likes of, and therefore will be unintended consequences. And it's also like the thing that I think about in regards to who's kind of at the helm with all this. Like, I don't know too much about the teams that are running a lot of these AI, these machine learning systems. But then there's like someone like Zuckerberg who's trying to get his what is the analogy I'm looking for? His hand in the ring, hat in the ring. I'm going to throw his hat in the ring. Who is corny as fuck. He's such a dork. It's like the idea that he would have any sort of say in building or crafting what our future is like, oh my God, like just could not have anyone who's got a cornier outlook on life. And that's like, when I look at the meta shit, it just feels corny and feels like I heard him talk on a podcast where he was like, talking about like, and I get we're in the kind of the early stages of perceiving what this Web3 and like what this kind of new era of technology and the way we interact with each other and just the way that everything is. But the examples that he was giving were just mad corny. Like, when you're in the metaverse and you have your, you can turn into a dragon, and then you can turn that dragon into a t-shirt, and then you could sell the t-shirt as a dragon. It's like, that shit, we have dragon t-shirts here. Like, I'm not going into this like new world where you're selling me a corny ass t-shirt as an NFT. Like, it's just that shit to me, all that stuff like that, like kind of right up the top, the real commercial, the most accessible stuff is corny. It's really fucking corny. And I see how it's going to be really appealing to people who maybe don't have the most inspiring reality here, and to go in and be like, oh, that fucking dragon t-shirt is dope, and like excited about it. And that's fine. I don't want to knock them a little bit, but for the most part, to me, it's like we're talking about some really, really corny potential here where we're just going to get into like a digital, watered down, candy coated, can it be watered down and candy coated at the same time, version of reality where you're like, it's not going to be better. It's just going to be different and corny. Oh man. And I think about this, like whenever I try to like kind of really sink into what it is we're doing here by creating AI and giving these machines the ability to learn and think and ostensibly, I don't know what ostensibly means, but I love using it. Ostensibly feeling, like having feelings and things, like I start to see the correlation between times where I've been in deep ayahuasca situations. Can't do an episode without somehow tying psychedelics into it, where I'm like kind of skirting the line between human mental reality and this kind of artificial mathematical based system that becomes like very overwhelming. And it generally, if I think about it too deeply in ceremony, I throw up. And because I think that like my operating system isn't to capacity to understand that stuff. And when I think about people who have like potential to just have mathematical thoughts, it's like, this is not me. But I don't know. There's something where we're almost like we are cracking the code of the universe, where we're getting into matrixy, like getting behind the curtain, Wizard of Ozzy, all these, stereotypes that movies have created and done a really good job of, where we're like seeing behind the curtain and we're playing God, really. I mean, the idea that we're like starting to get into genomic editing and that we're able to alter reality, like needless to say, it's a really, really trippy thought. And when you can kind of blend the two, or at least go into that space and take what you know or may not know at all of AI in this reality, and when you go into these psychedelic spaces, like at least for me, there's definitely like there's something there. There's something there, and I think that we're getting close to, I don't know, maybe just disappearing altogether. Like it just like voids it all out. Like we've solved the Rubik's Cube and we've just disappeared. We've made ourselves just blink out. Like, oh my God, I had this one time in ceremony where I had to be taken into another room. I might've mentioned this before, but while I was there, it had I was in my space deep. And I could sense, as you can try to describe this actual like 3D reality in this non-3D space, there was a door and I could open the door and I kept opening it slightly. And inside the room was just white. It was just like nothingness. And I peeked in and then I would like kind of shut it and like giggle and be like, no. And then I'd open it again and peek in and just get scared and be like, I can't handle it. But what I perceived in that was just like nothing, like clearly nothing. That if I went in there, I would be absorbed into the nothing and I would become nothing. And I remember the next day in integration, I was telling the group about this and I was like, man, I just felt like if I went into that room, I would have disappeared. And there was one guy who was like, yeah, you would have. Like, okay. So I just feel like we're playing with something that we don't have full knowledge of. We're all like kind of getting drawn in by the like bells and whistles and the like, oh, look, I can make myself into an avatar and use it as my profile picture. And we're kind of like, we're playing with the toys here while something really big is happening before our eyes that we can't even conceive of. And we're fucked. I love you.
That was the really fun wow show. All right, we're done. Oh, yep. Okay, bye.